What's up, guys? Brett here, and today I want to go over with you specifically what I look at when I am analyzing a restaurant's marketing plan. I have worked with over 1,000 brands across North America. I have looked at every single marketing strategy you could probably imagine, and I can guarantee you from this video, you're going to get a lot of great insight as to what you should be doing in your business, things you should be thinking about from a marketing front. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment below in this video. Okay, so let's dive into it. First thing you're gonna wanna know, or first thing you're gonna be able to wanna look at in your restaurant is you need to figure out how many new customers are you producing monthly at the moment. If you don't know how to do this, there's a number of ways you can do it. In your point of sale, you can set it up so it knows every time there's a new credit card. When it comes to reservation systems, you can look at how many people booked this month that are new, that weren't already in your reservation system. There's a lot of ways to do it, but it's good to get at least a measure and a pulse so you can kind of see where you're at in comparison to last year, last month, and really how you're making progress each and every month moving forward, right? So that's the first thing, is understanding how many new customers are we producing, right? And again, you can do this through your point of sale, reservations, maybe even like phone calls coming in, like how many were new versus returning, right? And there's ways to do that too using Dineline. Anyway, that's number one, okay? Number two, when it comes to producing these new customers, ask yourself, how are we doing it? What are the methods that we are using to drive new customers in? And is that a method that we can turn up the volume on, AKA produce more customers when we want? Or is it something that is kind of like a guessing game every single month, right? Like we're pushing out some random posts on social media and we're just hoping people come in, right? To better analyze this, what I always think about is like, what are the KPIs we're looking at? What are some of the things that you're considering when looking at your marketing? A KPI is a key performance indicator of success. Now, when we run ads or we do any kind of marketing for our clients, we always want to have some kind of measure that we're going to look at to determine, is this good or is this bad? Now, obviously, the best measure you can use for that is a customer visit, is an online order, is a reservation, something that shows that we actually earned a customer, whether they were a new one or returning, right? So, KPIs. Most people, as it relates to this, they're going to look at stuff like, I don't know, like clicks, engagement, impressions, comments, maybe on social media, likes, right, etc., things like that. Now, like these are things that are great. It's just, again, they aren't necessarily customers, right? And if this is your only measure of success, like that's not the answer, right? A like is not a customer, right? I always say this, you can't, this is our old tagline, you can't deposit likes into the bank. So like, why is that the focus, right? If the end goal is to actually get a customer walking through your doors, ideally you're gonna want a strategy that allows you to see that. And again, there's lots of ways you can do it. You can do it through tracking reservation bookings. You can do it through tracking store visits. But sometimes these things require having the tech to do so, like using Dineline, right? Next up is, based on the marketing you're doing, is what we're doing like allowing us to see if it's a new or returning customer, right? How do we determine that, right? And if you are reaching customers every month with your ads, how do we determine what we're gonna run in the next series of ads? So for example, one thing you can do on this front is when you run ads, you're gonna collect data, okay? And this data might not be a store visit, might not be a reservation, but at least you can see who clicked. At least you can see who engaged. Now, you can create remarketing ads that remarket to this audience, but you can also create ads that exclude this audience. So for example, if you wanted to create a strategy that was focused on reaching new people every month, but excluding your existing audience, what you could do, for example, let's just say you're running Google ads, right? You could create something in Google that would exclude people that were searching your restaurant name, for example, right? And why would I want to do that? Well, your restaurant probably already ranks pretty well for your name. Hopefully it should. If it doesn't, that's an issue. But let's just say it does, assuming that you have a successful brand. And when people search your name on Google, you pop up. Ideally, you could set up your ads in such a way that would exclude people from seeing your ad if they search your name. Now, the reason I would want to do that is I don't want to pay for someone already looking up my brand, right? It doesn't make sense. The other thing is when you run ads, like I just said, you're collecting data. So based upon clicks, I can't exclude this audience in the next month or next week, That's another example, right? But here's the thing too. It takes having the data to be able to exclude that person, right? So let's just say you're a restaurant that's never run any ads before and you have no tracking codes on your website and there's no way to see any of this stuff. You're starting from a place without any data. So it will take time to figure out who I want to exclude, who I want to include, and all these great things, okay? And then finally, like I said before earlier, we talked about this a little bit on the KPIs, but like, is this trackable, right? Like, can we see that these ads actually brought in customers? And by the way, a lot of people, they tell me all the time, oh, well, we have a great system. You know, we run ads on television or radio or whatever. And people say they see our ads all the time. This is not what I'm talking about, right? Like, that's not a measure of success. If that is the only way that you're tracking this, like, you need to improve that. Something you want to think about too, right? By the way, is like, if you're still doing mailers, you're missing out big time. The average person now checks their mailbox twice per week, but they check their phones 340 times per day. So like, when you think about running ads or doing any kind of marketing, do you want to be on a channel like mail, which captures no data, doesn't know if it's reaching new versus returning, cannot be tracked unless you're giving a coupon, which I don't like doing coupons for the most part, and only is there where people checking it twice per week? Or would you rather be on a channel like digital, which allows you to reach an audience that's checking their phones 340 times a day, tracks data, tracks engagement, gets smarter over time? Yeah, you want to be there, right? Plain and simple. Okay, and then the other thing I look at is what you're doing on the marketing front. Is it scalable? Like, if you doubled the amount of spend on your radio ad, would it produce double the amount of customers? Unfortunately, if you can't track that what you did led to a customer walking through your doors, you probably can't scale it, right? That's also the problem with a lot of these marketing plans. Is like, if your restaurant's at a place where you don't want it to be, you want to grow it, you want to get to like a higher spot financially, but you don't have a marketing system that you can rely on to bring in new customers, and you can't scale it when you have success, you probably have the wrong strategy, right? Like, oftentimes what I see is you have a great restaurant owner, great restaurant concept, great product, great everything within their four walls, and they're spending all this money on marketing. And I'm like, you're spending all this money on marketing, but you can't track if customers are coming through. You can't scale the strategy. Like, there's no data you're collecting from this either. Like, if you turned it off, would your sales go down? And they never know the answer. And so what I'm getting at is usually the problem unlocking major growth for a lot of restaurants is not what they're doing right or wrong within their four walls. I mean, it could be something they're doing wrong within the four walls, and if they fix that, it'd be better, right? But usually, at least the brands that I talk to, they're great brands, great product, great offering, great service. Everything's right within the four walls. The problem is they have no machine for growth. They have no system they can rely on to create customers when they want to and scale it when they have success. And they also don't know which part of their marketing is actually working ever, right? That's the big problem. And so finally, once you get all these things correct, how do we remarket to our audience, right? What do we do after we get some engagement or a customer? What are you doing to bring this customer back? Maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, our food and service is great and like that's enough. And maybe that's helping for sure, but why not remarket to them? It's so cheap. Remarketing, for what it is, by the way, is very cheap. It's warm traffic, meaning it's traffic that's already shown us that they like your brand. It's shown the ad networks that they like your brand. They've been to your brand. So it's a lot cheaper to remarket to them versus cold traffic is a little more expensive. Okay. So oftentimes what I do on the remarketing, guys, is like, let's just say somebody visited your website, put a tracking code on your website, like a Facebook pixel or a TikTok pixel or a Google tag assistant, and remarket that you do catering, right? So or remarket that you do private events. But basically, you're going to want to remarket some high ticket offer. Why not remarket one of your highest tickets? Because you know it's already an existing customer. You know that the chances that they know your brand is probably pretty high if they've been to your website, obviously, right? So like, why would you not do that? Anyway, these are just a few of the things I look at personally when I'm analyzing a restaurant when it comes to the marketing front. I hope this helped. I hope this gave you some value. If you have any questions, by the way, just feel free to write in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, just let us know. If you have any other questions whatsoever, just let us know. Again, hope you got some value, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.